All right, welcome to the video, everybody. Just wanted to do a quick video to highlight our rail system. To me, this is one of the parts of this system that I rarely talk about, but it's one of my absolute favorite parts about it, and it's a feature that I don't think can be overlooked. So with that, what I have here are the Lowrance rails for the 47-inch Ghost and for the 52-inch Ghost. And notably here is, number one, these are just crazy lightweight. So what you can't tell in a lot of the pictures is how scalloped out the inside of this is. This long beam weighs 6 ounces. And I've had several people comment about the transducer mount for these, and they said it looks very heavy. But what you can't tell in the pictures that I've sent is just how much material we take out, and the lengths at which we go to make them as light as we can make them and still be crazy strong. So I draw a lot of inspiration off of bow companies and what they do. And these are pretty analogous to the riser on a bow and arrow, and they're crazy high strength to weight. It's all 6061 T6 aluminum, and you'll notice the on the Lowrance version, it's all bolt together. The beauty of the Lowrance is we can raise and lower it without having to separate the rails, which we can't do on the Garmin, and we won't be able to do on either of the Minn Kota Ultrex or Ultrex Quest units. So the Lowrance really packages down nicely, and allows us to do this really clean setup, and it is just stupid lightweight. And with that, this is an assembled 47-inch version, and we have 2 transducer mounting pads. And then you'll notice that the rail itself is threaded all the way up, has threaded holes all the way up. That is for cable management or additional transducers, or if you want to mount a hydrowave, we could rig up a hydrowave mount for that. If you wanted to mount a pole sticking off of it to get a good indication, that's awfully easy to do. So it really just gives us a lot of flexibility and a lightweight, super duper strong package. I mean, this is crazy stiff and rigid. So we're really happy with how it's turned out. But a little bit about how the transducers mount. If you're mounting a single transducer, you'll just mount it directly to the side of the rail. So you'd have your forward position and down position, and there's nothing else to add. It will just screw right. In the case of a Lowrance, the screw will come up through the bottom and screw right into it. For the Garmin's, it'll just screw right down through the top. This is already threaded for the 8mm thread that it takes to screw them down. So there's really nothing else to this. This is it. And just to give you an idea of how lightweight these are, and we took them to the Bassmaster Classic and had several that were off of our units, and people were able to pick them up and hold them, and they were shocked at how lightweight they were. Oops. So this whole assembly is 9.5 ounces, just to give you an idea. So, and that's it. Now all we've got in addition to that is this centering ring. So we're at exactly 10 ounces for the whole assembly, which is crazy. So just to give you a point of reference, this is an LBS 34 mount, and this is the bracket that it mounts to, and it weighs almost the same just for the mount. So we've got a whole rail that can mount 2 transducers. And for even more comparison, this is an LVS 62 mount, and we start stacking it up on here, and we're at 25.5 ounces. So we can mount those on here, and with this system, and even adding a perspective mount, we're still at 12.5 ounces. So we're really pleased with that. It is a lightweight, really strong system. In addition to the mounting pads, we also have screw holes here, and those are what we're going to do in the future is we're going to have an indicator scale on here that screws in and mounts to these and allows people to move it, and it'll be a positive stop. So you'll move it till it stops, and that'll be forward, and move it till it stops, and that will be down. So that should help things. In addition to that, we also want to point out the perspective mounts. I think one of the big things that's not really talked about a lot with perspective mounts, the Garmin mount is 11.5 degrees or 11.2 degrees from center. So if you started at level, it's 11.2 degrees down. The Lowrance mount is 5.5 degrees further down than that. So there are two different angles for those two systems. And if you hear people talk about it, they'll say, well, the Garmin is better in shallow water and the Lowrance is better in deep water. Well, it's because of the mount. It's because it's angled better. So what we did is we took, you'll see that these mounts, they'll have 32 notches in them. So there'll be 32 notches, and we took that and we doubled it. So we went up to 64 notches on ours. So we are aluminum on aluminum, so when we mount, we were able to adjust in 5.5 degree increments. Okay, so that is a big advantage. So whether you have Garmin and you want to go into deeper water and add a click to it to go to angle it down, or if you're a Lowrance user and you want to go into shallow water and you want to angle it up just a little bit, you've got that flexibility with this mount, and it really makes it easy. We include a short knob for this, just to give you an idea how this goes together. So that's it right there, and it is a crazy light, compact system. And one thing we do too, these are all 0 degree mounts. So your transducer will clear the barrel. This amount of offset from the center line will clear the barrel of the trolling motor in forward mode and down mode. We tend to prefer having our transducers as close to the shaft as possible. And we do that for a couple reasons. One is it better protects the transducer. They're not hanging. There's a new trend for transducers to be way out here, and I don't understand it. So they're out here in harm's way, where we keep it really tidy to the shaft. It makes it, and the other thing it does, it makes mounting it when you retrieve it, it's not hanging out off the side of your boat off of this long extension. We keep everything real nice and tidy. If there's cross currents, there's not as much current hitting it. There's not as much resistance when you turn it. It's really a much better system to keep everything, in my opinion, really close to the shaft. And that's what we do. We offset the forward and down just enough to clear the barrel to be a 0 degree mount. And then we keep our perspective mount tilts that transducer back to where the top of that transducer is right up against the shaft of the trolling motor. We have about an 1/8 inch gap between them so that it's really tight to the trolling motor shaft. So this is the Lowrance version. We'll move on to the Garmin version. The Garmin version is a little bit more complex. The beauty of the Lowrance, again, is that our whole system moves with the shaft, whereas on the Garmin, it doesn't. So we're fixed to the underside of the turning head of the trolling motor. So if the shaft gets raised, it's the motor itself is coming towards our transducer. So the original versions of this we rebolted, and we could bolt it here, and that would have worked fine. It was nice and rigid. It was light. It was simple to manufacture for us. But the problem was it wasn't quick, and if you're out somewhere and you just need to raise up 6 inches and you're in shallow water, or 8 inches, you need to be able to do so pretty quick. And sitting there and unbolting this and rebolting this in a different position is I just couldn't stand that. And so we went back to the drawing board, and we looked to the camera industry. These are camera mounts, and they use a V rail. That this is a Swiss Arca rail, and it's got a V notch, so you've got a male and a female part, and we basically just copied that, and it's worked out really well. So what we have is we have a clamp on the side, and notice again, it would have been fine just to leave all of this material there, but we chose to machine this out, to pocket this out, to make it lighter. So we're looking for weight savings everywhere we can. Weight on the front of the boat, I talked to one of the boat makers at the Bassmaster Classic, and we both just are always amazed at how much weight people are putting on the front of their boats. And that's one of the downsides of having all of this stuff is you got the weight. And one of our competitors weighs 23 pounds. It adds 23 pounds to the front of the boat. So we kind of wanted to go the other way and make it stronger and lighter, and use aerospace materials and use really modern machining and CAD to do it. So that's how you see pockets like this. And that, believe it or not, everything adds up. So again, back to the rail. So we chose to make an Arca rail. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this has a V shape to it. And then this part notches into it. So if you can see that, it has a notch into it, and this clamp just tightens everything down. But we took it one step forward, and one of the things I'm always paranoid about is your transducers falling into the prop, hitting that prop. And I've seen more pictures and videos than I care to see of $1,000 plus transducers that have been chopped up by the trolling motor blade. So to me, having a bicycle seat post clamp, keeping all of this stuff from sliding down, especially once you start putting 2-3 transducers on a turret, to have just a single clamp, that's not something I like. And so we went totally the other direction on it. And so with that, we arrived at this system, and we've got a couple different protections for it sliding apart. Number one is we add a fastener right here, and we screw that all the way down. And when we do, we have a positive stop for this when it extends. So it runs up against there. So this cannot come apart without taking this out. The other thing we did, we didn't want it to fall at all. So the other thing we did is we've added these notches. And I don't know how easy that is to see, but we've added these notches, and these notches correspond with the pins that are right here. And so these pins ride inside of these notches. So when you go to adjust this, it doesn't just take off. Okay, so and the lockup on this is just crazy. I mean, it is like a one-piece system. It is rock solid. But when you go to adjust it, you loosen this up, and you will kind of need to finagle it back and forth and then relock it. Okay, because of these notches, it keeps it from just going thump. Because when if you get an LVS 62 and an LVS 34 on there, it's got some weight down here on this shaft, so we didn't want people loosening it and it just slamming all the way to the bottom. So this allows you to kind of fine tune that. If you were so inclined and wanted to bolt these down, these bolt holes line up with these bolt holes. So you could do that very easily. So it is super simple to adjust. That's maximum length. If you wanted to go up to minimum length, boom. So you can just slide this up in seconds. It's really, really flexible. And then the weight of this is heavier than the Lowrance version because we had to add the clamp and the second rail. It's just more material. It's one of the reasons why the Garmin version is more expensive. But even then, even with that, so even with that, we're at 13 ounces. So it is a crazy light setup. You're really adding very, very little weight over these guys. And if you're using a 62, it's lighter than just the brackets that are mounting to the trolling motor shaft itself. So we're super excited about it. And the last thing I want to touch on, again, we've got screw holes all the way up all of these shafts, and that allows us to do a lot of things. One of the things it does is allow us to put cable management right here on the shaft. So there's no more, you don't have to tape anything to this. You don't have to zip tie. You don't have to have crazy fasteners. We're going to include these. They function extremely well, but I'm not happy with the aesthetics of it. So we're going to, I believe we're going to work on our own, and they will be billet aluminum, and they will be a really cool design. So we're working on that. For now, they're going to ship with these, and the billet ones will probably come out with later. They'll probably be available in colors, so you can have red, or white, or blue, or whatever, green, whatever color you want that comes in Cerakote. You can have with these clips. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, we'll be sending these out with it. So the Garmin version, you'll get 3 of them, and the short Lowrance you'll get 2, and long Lowrance you'll get 3. So these will be coming with it, and they're stainless steel, and they work functionally. They're fantastic, and they're very light. The last thing I want to touch on, we were doing all of our rails and motor assembly. We were anodizing it, and I started looking at anodizing on some other parts that were in the water on boats, and it just doesn't hold up very well. And namely the Atlas jack plates that are black, the black anodizing on a lot of those has completely come off. And the reason why is anodizing uses a cathode and anode, and you're oxidizing that aluminum. Well, electrical systems on a boat also use cathode and anode, and I think what's happening is it just leaches off electrically. They can't, you have to have cathodic protection on these systems to keep that from happening, and I'm not wanting to do that. So the way these mount to the underside of the heads on the Minn Kotas and the Garmins makes this electrically part of that whole system. So we started looking into other options. I didn't like the buildup that powder coat had added, so we ended up going with Cerakote, and this is Cerakote Elite. It's their top of the line ceramic coating. It's sprayed on in a thin film, and then it's baked on in an oven. So it's a little bit about halfway in between anodizing and powder coating. It's thin like anodizing. It's really thin. It hasn't affected our tolerances really, but it has a little bit of a buildup to give it outstanding chemical protection. So if you spray cleaners on it, it doesn't matter. If you spill something, it just doesn't matter, and it's pretty darn durable. It's what our military uses on AR-15s now, so it's very common in the firearm industry, and it's pretty much the top of the line coating. So we're doing that with these and the motors. The foot control is still anodized because the tolerances on it are crazy tight. We may end up offering colors as an option on the foot control, and then making a plug for the inside of that to keep the color out of the inside. But for now, that's just going to be anodized, and it's just a clear anodizing because I didn't want it to get hot. So it's anyway, we're really excited about this coating. It's as good as it can get. So if it doesn't hold up, it's then we've got to be less rough with them. So we're happy with it and can't wait to get these out, and appreciate you joining us, and look forward to the next video. Thanks.